No matter how hard they try, the government can't hide the fact that they are doing some tremendously large changes. It really seems like Trudeau has full intentions of running in the next election, which is phenomenal. Absolutely. That means that he's going to lose a catastrophic defeat, and there's going to be a massive conservative majority government for the next foreseeable future. But who is going to be under Justin Trudeau? Who's going to be a part of this cabinet? Who is going to try to help him run in the next election? And that's what people have been speculating for a lot of time, and we finally have some answers. And it's because the mainstream media isn't really hiding anymore. They have come out and they are attacking Trudeau with the really tough questions, which is phenomenal, which is what we want from journalism. But it's taken a little bit too long. But nonetheless, we're still going to take it, and we have some awesome news in this video. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I want to encourage you all to smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And without further ado, let's get into this video here. So the polls are reflecting that Trudeau is going to get his butt kicked, just as predicted. Conservatives are still projected with 213 seats, bottom line 179, top end of 234. I do think that in the next 30 days or so, maybe leading into August, you're going to see that the conservative seats are probably going to prop up a little bit higher, maybe 219. I'd like to see into the 220s. That would be really solid as we, turn over a new leaf and head back into politics season, which should be midway through September, right, when they resume in Parliament. Liberals, Justin Trudeau at 72 seats. Every other party, not even close. 99% likely across the board for the Conservatives of winning the most seats and of winning a majority government. So there hasn't really been any changes there, but what is changing is the rhetoric. The mainstream media they're not holding their punches anymore. They are really going after Justin Trudeau, and they have many, many reasons to do so. One of them I've covered in the past couple of videos would be NATO. Justin Trudeau was at this NATO summit, and he really got chewed out by a lot of people, including America and other NATO countries going, hey man, you have to pay up. Give us that money. But we're going to get into that in a second, and we're going to get into this cabinet shuffle that they are preparing to do in a second. I do first want to share this clip here of Justin Trudeau saying we are lucky to have Joe Biden on the world stage, which is like one of the few times you've ever heard that sentence ever made. Joe Biden can't even make a sentence. It doesn't make any sense how, first of all, he's president, and second of all, people supporting him. He's an old man. But let's take a look at Justin Trudeau just wash away even more of his reputation.
Mr. Prime Minister, Joe Biden has been facing intense pressure at home from within his own party to step down because of concerns over his mental acuity at the age of 81 years old. During this NATO summit, Mr. Prime Minister, what is your assessment of President Biden's performance, and if he can lead on the global stage? And if you could also take that question and answer in French as well.
We are lucky on the world stage to have Joe Biden leading here at NATO, on the G7, in some extraordinarily consequential times. His depth of experience, his thoughtfulness, his steadfastness on the greatest issues and challenges of our time is a credit to the work that we're all doing together, and it has been, as always, a privilege and pleasure to work alongside him on big issues, and I look forward to continuing to.
Big issues. The man can't even put a sentence together without sounding like an absolute idiot, and that's saying something considering Justin Trudeau is also in that same boat. But nonetheless, let's take a look at this very controversial NATO contribution, right? So every country in NATO has to contribute 2% of their respective GDP to NATO's defense budget. And Canada's been falling short about this. I've covered this in the past several videos, but for those that have missed it, Canada, Justin Trudeau, not us Canadians, but Justin Trudeau has prided himself on the fact that Canada's been hitting 1.25%. But I mean, sorry, NATO, we're fighting climate change for the entire world. So what can you say about that? And it turns out that they can say a lot, as in, give us the money or you will be kicked out of NATO. So now Justin Trudeau has had to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate and give a firm commitment of when we will reach 2%. And it's not for a very long time.
Canada fully expects to reach NATO's 2% of GDP spending target by 2032. We have built in a regular cycle of review in Canada's defence, including a new defence policy update in 2028. Through that process, we will continue to explore opportunities that will further increase defence spending and advance Canada's strategic interests.
You've announced that you're going to get to 2%, which has been a long anticipated thing that your allies have been looking for, and you say it's by 2032. But your government hasn't attached money in terms of commitments, weapon systems, explaining how we're going to get there. So I'm wondering how credible you think allies or Canadians will find this plan when you're releasing something so major as sort of a sub-point in a press conference.
On the contrary, we have steadily increased over the past years our investments in defense. $175 billion in new defense spending announced over the past 8 years, with significant material and equipment purchases. We have demonstrated, including most recently with our North Strong and Free Defense Policy Update, a credible, concrete plan that gets us to 1.74% by 2030. Now, that's starting from a place where the previous government had us below 1% of GDP on defense spending. So we have had to steadily and massively invest in increasing our capabilities in Canada over the past number of years, because it's not just something the Canadians expect or our allies expect, it's something that the world requires. The world is a more dangerous, unstable place with shifting geopolitical realities, more conflicts and wars springing up in places we wouldn't expect. There is a need, particularly with our responsibility over the Arctic, to be stepping up, and that's what we have done. And because we have a concrete plan that gets us to 174, with included in it plans on submarines that we hadn't yet officialized, with plans on other capabilities that we're developing, plans to increase enrollment and enlistment as well. These are things that means we can say with confidence and assurance that we will hit the 2% spending mark by 2032.
So that's something that I don't know why he's trying to brag about with a serious face. He should be almost on his knees apologizing if he is serious about continuing any sort of partnership with NATO. That's the requirement that has been like the very basic requirement for a very long time. And still, instead of saying we're immediately going to do it, we're going to reach the bare minimum requirement in what, 8 years, 6 years? Like, that's absolutely absurd. Justin Trudeau is so bad with money that the bare minimum, imagine going somewhere that has an admission, right? And you go $100 admission, whatever it is, imagine it, right? A restaurant, an event, whatever, it doesn't matter. You walk in, and instead of saying $100, you go, yeah, you know, I don't really have $100, but here's 30, and I'll bring the remainder in a few weeks, right? Like, just don't worry about it. Like, no, it costs that much to get in. That's a requirement. But yeah, keep it up, Justin. I'm sure that in a time of where the world is on brink of World War III, this is a terrific time to get us kicked out of NATO. And this is also extremely controversial because a lot of people actually agree that maybe we shouldn't be a part of NATO. But once again, I'd love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Now we're getting into some very murky waters here. Freeland, who has been a WEF globalist leader. She's been groomed, indoctrinated, brought up in the World Economic Forum, pilots, organization, whatever you want to call it, right? She's been part of the WEF for a very long time. There's a lot of reasons to believe that she would be shifting over to the World Economic Forum, but we're not going to be talking that much about that thing right now. We're going to be talking about who's going to replace her. Well, she is Canada's Deputy Finance Minister. She manages our budgets, which are really, really bad. They brag about being billions of dollars, in debt. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it just, Canada has been spending. We're not investing in the right ways. And Canada likes to, the whole idea of our budgets are, give us your money, your taxpayers' money. We're going to invest it in you how we see fit. You don't get to invest your money in yourself. We're going to take it from you and we're going to invest it and disperse it across of the whole country for everyone to enjoy. But the problem is that doesn't work. They've tried. It doesn't work. Maybe in a different time, in a different economic state, that would work. But right now, it's not working. And so they need to bring somebody in who knows about money. And obviously, the center of this conversation is Mark Carney. Mark Carney. He is a Canadian economist and banker who was the governor of the Bank of Canada from 2008 to 2013 and the governor of the Bank of England from 2013 to 2020. So when it comes to money, I would say Mark Carney knows a thing or two. And honestly, just at surface level, who is better with money, Chrystia Freeland or Mark Carney? I would have to say Mark Carney. And this is where it becomes extremely dangerous when they're heading into an election, is we don't want the Liberals to stack themselves with good players. And I'm not saying Mark Carney is, I'm just saying he's more qualified. Mark Carney is a globalist. He's part of the WEF as well, if I'm not mistaken. He's not a good guy, right? He's part of that corrupt organization that wants to benefit other countries instead of working on things here in Canada. And that's, I mean, there's reason to believe that that's part of the reason why we got in such a shitty economic state to begin with. But Trudeau is really flirting with the idea of bringing Carney in to replace Chrystia Freeland. This has been in the talks for a while, and it's becoming a little bit more of a reality lately. So you have the Toronto Star that's reporting Mark Carney would be outstanding addition to federal politics, but whose spot would he take? Of course, he would have to take a finance position because that's his entire backing, right? His resume is finances. And he is even asked here by a reporter at NATO summit if they would replace Freeland with Mark Carney.
Adrian Morrow with the Globe and Mail. Prime Minister, did you and your staff discuss the possibility of replacing Chrystia Freeland as finance minister with Mark Carney? And did you raise this issue with Mr. Carney personally? En français aussi.
I have been talking with Mark Carney for years now about getting him to join federal politics. I think he would be an outstanding addition at a time when Canadians need good people to step up in politics. In regards to Chrystia, she has been a close friend and ally and partner in doing really big things for Canada and will continue to be. Delivering the largest housing and most ambitious housing program in Canada's history, delivering on childcare, transforming our economy to be ready for the 21st century. These are all things that Chrystia has led on and will continue to. I have full confidence in her abilities and on the work we're going to be doing together.
That is the classic politician answer for this person is getting fired and we just haven't said that they're getting fired yet. You don't have to take my word on it. Even CTV seems to agree with this here. Let's take a look at this report.
What is behind the scenes here? There has been some suggestions that from Liberals that if Mark Carney wants to get into the race and be a serious contender, either to join the Liberal Party in some capacity or potentially as Prime Minister, he has to kind of pay his dues and kind of get in the trenches and do the campaigning and get in there. So potentially coming in to help the government at this time try to sell their economic message, a message they are kind of losing voters on in contrast to the Conservatives, could be a way for him to pay those dues. But there are others that have suggested he should stay as far away from this current Liberal government as possible to kind of improve his chances in the future. If he does want to run, not having being painted with the current Liberal government's brush could be to his advantage.
Well, politics can be ruthless, as we all know, but dumping Chrystia Freeland for Mark Carney would be perhaps particularly ruthless, to say nothing of the fact that the Conservatives are probably already preparing attack ads about how Mark Carney is an elitist and a globalist, and he ran the Bank of England, and he's totally out of touch with average Canadians. I can almost imagine it right now.
Yeah, I think what's really important here is that there's no imminent cabinet shuffle, but certainly any of these conversations about moving a piece here or there is something the Prime Minister's office spends a lot of time thinking about in advance. There's little minutiae details about maintaining that gender parity, but also regional representation. And certainly I think this Prime Minister would be mindful of not wanting to face the criticism of demoting the most senior woman in his cabinet completely. So would that be she keeps one of the roles and drops finance, stays as deputy, or how do they kind of spin this if this is something they're going to do? Those are all going to have to be key considerations, because it shouldn't be a situation where the overall image Canadians are getting, Todd, is that the Prime Minister is throwing someone else under the bus so he can keep going on.
Yeah, and you raised a great point too that I just want to touch on before we go, which is the idea that, let's say you are Mark Carney and you're interested maybe getting into politics. Why would you come now when the polls are so bad for the Liberal government? Why not wait until, let's say, a theoretical defeat for them, and then they have to find a new leader, and then you step in as the Liberal Messiah?
These are probably conversations anyone who would be eyeing a Liberal leadership run right now are weighing. You do have to kind of factor in, is your loyalty to the party and feeling very strongly about making sure you show the strongest defense against the Conservatives in the next election? Does that kind of altruism supersede your own personal ambitions? That is a question I don't have the answer to, Todd, but it's really going to be fascinating over the next couple months as we see as this plays out, because if the Prime Minister is having these conversations, kind of naming Carney directly in a conversation that we've all kind of been chatting about but not hearing him address head on. So that really struck me today as interesting, and certainly there seems to be some interesting conversations happening behind the scenes, and I look forward to watching how they all play out in the next couple weeks.
I hate to say it, but the only way that the Liberals will have any sort of chance succeeding in the next election is if they get rid of the top. Justin Trudeau has to go. That's the only way. And you're going to see their polls skyrocket. They could even theoretically leave Chrystia Freeland in her position, and they could just replace Justin Trudeau, and they will do tremendously better. I hate to say it, I hate to admit it, but that's just the fact. There is so much hatred for Justin Trudeau that literally anybody, an unqualified individual, a qualified financial backing, like someone like Mark Carney, would do tremendously better. A juice box water bottle thingy would do tremendously better than Justin Trudeau, because people don't have the time to print off juice box water bottle thingy, flags and t-shirts and stickers, although the stickers do come pretty quick. But that's not the point. The point is that there's so much hatred, there's so much negative attention and aura around Justin Trudeau, and I sound like a hippie, that replacing him, all of the F Trudeau memorabilia is just, it's gone. And then that entire rhetoric fizzles out. And then what? Is everyone going to start saying F Mark Carney? He hasn't done anything. F Freeland as Prime Minister? Yeah, possibly, right? F juice box water bottle thing? There's not enough time for that to pick up steam. So it's just Justin Trudeau that literally has to step down, but his ego is too big. He thinks that he can take on this task, but he's the problem. He's the sinking ship. He's the anchor that is pulling the entire party down. And that's not to say that there isn't any problems with other Liberal MPs. Absolutely they are. Freeland is a horrible politician. But I guess by political standards, she's a phenomenal politician. She lies through her teeth. She's a horrible person. She has false promises. She lines her own pockets, and she overspends all of the taxpayers' money. So that, it seems to be the standard for politicians, and she's right on cue. But in terms of being a decent human being and a public servant, she's an absolutely garbage, both of those things. You get rid of the top, you get rid of Justin Trudeau, and potentially even Chrystia Freeland, right? And the Liberals will, I don't want to say thrive, but potentially. And that's scary, because what if that happens? What if we get what we want? What if Justin Trudeau resigns? What if he says, you know what? I've seen a Mr. Sunshine Baby. That's a valid point. The Liberal cabinet is putting all this pressure on me. I'm going to step away. I'm going to focus on time with my kids. What then? What does that landscape look like? Well, to paint a bit of a picture, it means that all of the heated debates, all the heated rhetoric around F. Trudeau, F. Freeland, all this stuff, it just fizzles out. And then we're left with straight up politics, just politics. And we're not stuck with, these F. Trudeau protests. As much as I love them, as great as they are for raising awareness, it's, if the Liberals wanted to change something, you remove the meaning of those protests, and then there's not going to be any more F Trudeau protests. They'll fizzle out. And so that is something that's the key right there. If the Liberals do that move, you're going to see a bit of a tighter race. But I know a lot of people have already made their mind up, right? A lot of people have decided, you know what, I'm voting for Pierre, or I'm just stepping back and I'm, not voting for the Liberals, pretty much, because the F Trudeau momentum is so strong, it's so powerful that he is the anchor that's pulling the ship down, and it's phenomenal. But it's also very scary to think that there could be a time before the election, theoretically, where he could step out of the way. And then what? Will the Liberals stand a chance? Unfortunately, I think that they would stand a much better chance if that were the case than where they are right now. But hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully Justin Trudeau goes down with the ship and he drags the entire Liberal Party down with him. But we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. I'd love to know what you guys think in terms of these theories. Do you agree that if they replace Trudeau, the Liberal Party might actually do significantly better? Let me know. On your way out, I would like to encourage you guys to smash the like button, subscribe if you have yet already, and we will see you in the next one. Bye for now.